Lecture 6. Listen to part of a lecture given in an environmental science class.
In the age of alternative sources of energy, solar energy has come to the forefront. To harness energy from the sun, one must receive it either directly from the sun or through very brief intermediate processes. An example of the latter is when crops which are grown using solar input are then used as fuel or biomass. Solar energy has many purposes, from heating cool buildings to powering racing cars. It can also be converted directly into electricity. Also, it is generally considered safe for the environment since it produces almost no known hazards. However, there are many critics of solar energy. It is often not a practical or viable alternative in cold climates or places that go without seeing the sun for long periods of time. It is also very difficult to transport. Power towers may be used to store solar energy only for a limited period of time, so when there is little or no sunlight in certain regions, this source of power cannot be utilized. Thus, though many environmentalists and other proponents strongly advocate solar energy as a prime source of power, harvesting it and using it on a long-term basis are problematic. Until more of these basic problems have been ironed out, there seems to be little hope that this will turn into a major source of energy for our communities.
Lecture 7. Listen to a geology professor giving part of a lecture on volcanoes.
Most volcanoes are found along an imaginary belt called the Ring of Fire, which encircles the Pacific Ocean. However, volcanic activity takes place in many far-flung regions of the world, such as Hawaii, Iceland, Europe, and even the floor of the Earth's oceans. The leading theory as to why volcanic activity, as well as earthquakes, take place when and where it does, is called the theory of plate tectonics. The theory holds that the outer shell of the Earth is divided into many different rigid sections of rock, called plates. These plates are not static. They are in continuous motion over a layer of partly melted rock. While their movement may appear insignificant at only several inches per year, it is not. Indeed, the collisions between the plates caused by this almost imperceptible movement can have catastrophic consequences. Volcanic activity and earthquakes are concentrated near the boundaries of these giant moving plates. The majority of volcanoes are formed at the point where two plates collide. One of the plates is forced underneath the other. As the plate sinks, the Earth's heat and the friction of the movement cause a portion of the sinking plate to melt. This melted portion of plate is called magma, and when it reaches the Earth's surface, it becomes a volcano. Volcanoes can also be created when two plates begin to diverge. Then, magma from below the Earth's crust moves up to fill the void between the two plates. Large quantities of lava spill out from the void. Volcanoes of this type usually are found not on land, but on the ocean floor. In extreme instances, this can lead to the formation of gigantic sunken mountain ranges, like the Mid-Atlantic Ridge that spans nearly the entire length of the Atlantic Ocean. The theory of plate tectonics also explains why some volcanic activity takes place so far from any known plate boundaries. Basically, these volcanoes are the result of huge columns of magma, or plumes, that rise up and break through the surface of the Earth.
Lecture 8. Listen to a physics professor give part of a lecture on light.
When a ray of light hits the surface of an object, one or a combination of the following three things happens. The light may be thrown back toward the source of the light, reflection. It may be passed through the object, refraction, or it may be absorbed into the object. Different materials and substances have unique patterns in the way light behaves when it falls upon them. This pattern gives objects their special appearance and color. If an object allows light to pass directly through it, As does a totally clear sheet of glass, it is said to be transparent. If it scatters and diffuses the light, in a manner similar to a frosted pane of glass, it is translucent. Finally, if it obstructs the passage of light, it is deemed opaque. When light is shined upon a reflecting object, it makes a certain angle with an imaginary line that is at right angles or normal with that object. This angle is called the angle of incidence. The ray that is reflected from the object also makes an angle with the normal line. This is termed the angle of reflection. The law of reflection dictates that the angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. In a reflecting object with a smooth surface, like a mirror, the light reflects back without spreading out. However, if the object is rough, the light does spread out. This explains why light reflected from a mirror forms such a sharp image, while that from a piece of cloth forms no image at all. The law of reflection holds true in any case. When light is refracted, it slows down as it passes through the substance. If it enters the object at an angle other than a right angle, this slowing down causes the light to bend at the surface of the substance. This accounts for the well-known example of a pencil appearing to bend if it is placed in a glass of water. When a material absorbs light, the light either raises the energy level of the material's atoms, or the light may be converted into heat energy. The most common example of the latter is that objects left in the sunshine tend to heat up from the absorption of light.
Vocabulary practice. Now listen to some vocabulary words taken from the previous talks. Listen to each word as it is pronounced and repeat it after the speaker. Then listen to the definition and an example sentence that you heard in the talk.
Number 6. Verified. Definition: confirmed or established. Example: the searches did turn up signals of unknown origin, but data collected in these searches were often processed long after the observation. In order to be sure that a signal is from another civilization, it has to be independently verified and shown to originate from a point beyond the solar system.
Number 7. Harness. Definition: to hold or control, to channel into a useful purpose. Example: to harness energy from the sun, one must receive it either directly from the sun or through very brief intermediate processes.
Number 8. Imperceptible. Definition: hardly noticeable or visible. Example: indeed, the collisions between the plates caused by this almost imperceptible movement can have catastrophic consequences.
Number 9. Obstructs. Definition: block or get in the way of. Example: finally, if it obstructs the passage of light, it is deemed opaque. Number 10. Converted. Definition: transformed or changed. Example: when a material absorbs light, the light either raises the energy level of the material's atoms, or the light may be converted into heat energy.
Now you will hear a series of lectures on various topics in the arts and humanities. The fields of the arts and humanities include subjects such as art history, architecture, language and linguistics, literature, music, American history, education, philosophy, and general humanities. These talks are similar to what you might hear in an academic lecture, on a radio broadcast, or in an educational program on television. You may want to replay these tracks and try to take notes on any words that you don't understand. After every 4 talks, You will hear 5 vocabulary words taken from those talks, with definitions and sample sentences from the talks. Lecture 9. Listen to part of a lecture given by a professor in a media class.
The invention of television was made possible through the development of the electron tube. For this reason, the TV is also known informally as the tube. The term couch potato, the slang expression often associated with people who watch a lot of television, is said to refer to the potato because it is a tubular vegetable, with eyes, the little black specks on the potato, to symbolize someone's eyes glued to the tube. Whether this was said in jest or not, it is a term that has stuck and is now a part of the lexicon of modern American culture. Though these so-called couch potatoes are often the butt of jokes or regarded as being unintelligent, such a characterization is unfair. And very few of us can honestly claim that we are not guilty of indulging in and enjoying this form of entertainment. It is estimated that over 98% of American households own a TV set. In fact, today, most own more than one, and at least half own a VCR or DVD player as well, and are able to watch movies they missed at the box office or record their favorite television programs. Although many intellectuals make snide remarks about television viewing, there are a number of highbrow shows. These may include classical music concerts, serious dramas, science programs, and language teaching shows. Television is also frequently used in schools as an educational tool for students of all ages and in many different fields. It is up to the viewer to decide which programs are worth their while to watch, and many parents do place strict limits on the kinds of shows their children may see and the number of hours allowed for television viewing. TV itself should not be seen as bad. It all depends on what and how one watches.